Hello again everyone, this is Woody, reporting from the home of the Mostroopers, now into the third version. If you've been following this channel, you know that the Mosstrooper III was launched in June of this year, that's 2025, and I enjoyed getting together with Willie Force It Upward to hold hands in the sky once more. Our unusually rain-free and hot summer caused quite a few problems here in the Highlands. There the moors were tinder dry and we had some spectacular wildfires all around us. Willie and I went out to take a closer look but kept well upwind, as you can see. Regrettably the fires didn't get as far as burning down the wind turbines, but perhaps next year would be hotter, drier and more useful in that respect. We didn't achieve our usual number of flying circus gatherings, but did manage to get together at the hillside strip at Glendow, that's near Fort Augustus on Loch Ness. One tip if you visit remote strips like this is to make a low pass to clear the sheep. Well, everybody knows that, I think. But also to be ready to hop over the rogue ram who breaks through the fence at the very last moment. It was a very close thing. On the way home we had the chance for a bit more formation practice. I'd have preferred a bit more twisting and turning, but aircraft with nose wheels don't do that, do they? In search of a free coffee, I spent a morning visiting Easter Airfield, which is out to the west of us, on Midsummer's Day. Of course the weather wasn't midsummery, but wasn't impossible either. It provided the opportunity for a little tactical weather avoidance where there was always a get-out-of-jail-free card, as they say in Monopoly, which is clear weather behind me. The line in the centre of the frame, by the way, is the edge of an experimental lens protector, which of course is now in the bin. Despite what the video suggests, it was always legal. For decent photography we know we need good light, of course, and the following day provided the opportunity to search for some more points of interest for my long-running aerial treasure hunt. You know, the one that no one wants to enter. Anyway, it hasn't stopped me from searching the Highlands for unusual objects, and perhaps you can identify what I found. Warning, it's not all that you think. Oh, and it's not a spoiler, because I'm not telling you where it is. And then there's the smoke. I like the smoke. It's useful for formation rejoins, as some of my wingmen need help to spot me, as I'm hardly bigger than an Aurelian drone. It gives an extra dimension to a low flyby, and really annoys our glider pilot colleagues, which is always amusing. I can also draw pictures, but this is going to need much more practice to compete with our local RAF artists. Filming it tells me that the nozzle needs some work to produce a decent smoke trail, but it does have promise. With a few more hours of practice, I was beginning to feel that I got comfortable with the new mini-sport's behaviour for landing. Unfortunately, I wasn't entirely correct. A weekend visit to Ballardo reminded me that the SC-1 isn't a Colibri and is much more affected by peculiarities in the local environment.
Ballardo Golf Mike Whiskey, final 07.
Like here. After the event, the locals were full of advice. Oh, well, with that wind, we never land there. That's where the air just stops, and the Bernoullis just drop you onto the ground. Good to know, but about 15 minutes earlier would have been better. Apparently the turbulence over the hangars creates a local dead spot which can kill 10 knots of airspeed in an instant. Added to that, there's a pronounced dip in the runway at that point, so when you fall a long way. The fact that I then left the short grass into the long grass shouldn't have been a problem, except the long grass hit a traffic bollard which my propeller then found. Added to that, the grass slowed me down to the point where the aircraft began to nose over. Even that wouldn't have been uncontrollable, but the wheel spats then rolled under the tyres and gave me that extra braking effect that I really could have done without. Oh well. The only damage would have been limited to the prop and some very small dents on the leading edge of the port wing. But when help arrived to assist in moving us, one of my rescuers got a bit too enthusiastic, which I only noticed when I heard that ripping of canvas type noise that fiberglass makes when it's torn apart. When I protested that the spats weren't trash but were repairable, I was laughed at. Not complaining, of course, they gave me a nice warm hangar, which was empty, to hide in, and a full case of tools to assist in the de-rigging. Roland Butter arrived later that day, having made an 8-hour round trip with a borrowed car and trailer to rescue me, which shows the value of being in a group of flying friends, with a trailer. With the Mini-Sport now in the workshop, the repairs wouldn't have taken long, but the state of the wheel spats required some careful rebuilding. Pulling all the torn pieces back together took quite some time, and the resulting patchwork reminded me of how my face might look after a hurried shave with a blunt penknife. It took several tries to smooth out all the bumps and dents, but the end result looks okay, I think. They say that every cloud has a silver lining. With the Mini-Sport's hangar space now empty, I could bring the Colibri back into use, because it's been for 6 months in Sir Tunley Knott's hangar. Back in April she had a failure of the leaf spring that holds the tail wheel in the right place. There should have been a like-for-like replacement. But, note this line. Doing this, taking the rudder off, opened up a giant container of soil invertebrates, un panier de crabe, ein Wespennest stecken, a can of worms. This isn't the time to say what happened next, since I'm still a member of the association that caused me to lose 6 months of flying in this lovely aeroplane. Also lost £500 of flying vouchers and a good deal of respect for what I believe was an efficient and pragmatic support system. How wrong I was. So, it'll have to wait until I'm free of that restriction and their possible sanctions. Look out for more on this next year. In the meantime, and while trying to sell her, I can enjoy the Colibri's excellent good manners for a while longer. A trip to Orson's strip at Knockbane was made to celebrate the arrival of his new aeroplane. I wouldn't have risked it in the Minisport, as you can see here, and you see why here. So flying the Colibri allowed me to be on site when he arrived after a long transit from England.
Congratulations, looks lovely.
Well, there you are, 3 minutes late.
Well, I'll give you that. All the bubbles out of it, give it a rub.
Not a bubble inside. Smooth as a baby's bum, that.
Welcome, new baby.
Yeah, new baby.
Once again, I can exploit the advantages of flying in an area where few people live and so won't be bothered about complaining about my aerial activities. I can attempt to capture some exhilarating footage of nothing much at all except sand, trees, rocks and waves. So, with the airfield about to turn white with snow, it's time to say goodbye to 2025. That's not the end of the year in video though. The next one, if I'm not then dead, will be the Colibri Tailspring saga, the annual BFC Awards dinner, and some sweeping up for posterity. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Bye for now, and have a Merry Christmas.